Merry Christmas, guys. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Año Nuevo. Happy New Year. This video is a class that I taught today, Christmas Eve, at my school, Five Stones Jiu-Jitsu. I'm posting it here as a gift for you guys. And then lastly, I would just want to leave you with a thought. We had a member of the Five Stones Jiu-Jitsu community recently passed away. His name was Dan Allard. He was super young. He had some back issues, weren't caused by jiu-jitsu. He already had them from, I think, years of weight training. But in either case, he went in to get a back surgery. There were some complications, and eventually he unfortunately lost his life and passed away. Dan was an awesome person. The type of person that would take his shirt off his back to help you. Inclusively, I remember when in my gym, anytime that I needed help with anything, Dan was super quick to offer help. When I had to move my mats from locations, he literally took the entire day to go help me move my mats. He helped, he brought his truck. It was such a dirty job because the old location that my school was in was an unfinished unit, and there was just sawdust and all sorts of dirt all over the place. And, Dan graciously came in and helped me move and brought his truck, and he was, he had a good knack for jiu-jitsu too. He actually was a really good jiu-jitsu athlete. Like, he was a natural for it. He didn't have a long time to develop it. He had to step away from the mats, inclusively. Just recently, I want to say maybe like a week or so ago, week and a half ago, I was texting him and we were talking about his back surgery, and he was talking about how he was looking forward to coming back to the mats and doing jiu-jitsu again, but obviously that didn't happen. So I want us to, number one, just take a moment to remember Dan Allard. Number two, take a moment to understand that, remember this Christmas season, to thank God for every single day that you have on this earth with your family. Do not take it for granted. Every day is not granted. Every day the sun rises on you and the sun goes down is a day that you need to be thankful for. Hug your loved ones, give them a kiss, give them a hug, and that's probably the most important thing I want us to remember, is to remember that just be thankful for every day that you have on this earth, because it's not guaranteed, okay? With that in mind, enjoy this full class, but before that, I just want to take a moment to remember Dan. All right, guys, so we're going to start with a snap down drill first, okay? So partner's going to be on his knees. He's going to have his butt off the floor. Good, exactly, just like so, okay? This is going to help us work on our snap mechanics a little bit with a little less resistance, since obviously your partner's already down on their knees. It'll be a bit easier to snap, okay? Two things I want you guys to keep in mind when we're snapping people. First is our footwork, okay? You can go ahead and grab your back. Yep, beautiful. Okay, first is our footwork. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're snapping somebody is they snap people onto their own legs, right? If I snap Pepe onto my own legs, obviously he's gonna grab a double leg, and then from there, it just doesn't help me at all, okay? First thing you wanna think about is when you go to snap somebody is having a footwork pattern where you vacate the space you want them to go, okay? So ideally, right now I'd like to snap Pepe down to the mat directly in front of him. What that means is that because I'm currently in this space, I need to do a good job of getting out of the way, okay? So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a side step and a back step. So I go side step, back step, and then I snap him down to the mat where I originally was, okay? Side step, back step, notice that's where I was. I'm no longer there. Now, when I go to snap, there's no legs for him to grab. Second thing I wanna bring your attention to is the position of my head, okay? If your head doesn't have proper movement or mechanics on a snap, your snap will bleed power, okay? Let me just illustrate with something exaggerated, okay? Go ahead, grab your back, good. Off your butt. Yep, up, good, perfect. From here, watch how when my head doesn't move, my snap literally looks rigid and it looks like it has no power to it. Okay? If my head doesn't move, my body will not do what it needs to do in order to snap the person. What you guys want to think about is allow your head to guide you to where you want to snap them. And one of the easiest ways of doing that is just to simply look where you want him to go. So watch how on this snap my head moves with my body and I physically look all the way through the snap, okay? So one more time. Instead of having my head high and keeping my head in position and trying to snap with my head stationary, my head will move with my snap and my eyes will guide the movement process, okay? All I'm gonna do is guide my eyes where I want him to land, and then eventually if I do everything right, he will land there. My eyes guide, and now from here, as you can see, my eyes are directly over the back of Pepin's head, meaning I did a good job of snapping him down. Make sense, everybody? On 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's warm up with that. So now you're gonna be on 1. So now not 2 knees. Good. Now we're gonna take the drill one step further, and I'm gonna practice snapping Pepin off of 1 knee, okay? Now the nice thing about this drill is what we'll see is that it'll help us start getting used to this idea where when I snap, I cannot snap my opponent into his base of support, right? This foot right now is his base of support, right? If I make grips with Pepin right now, good, and I try to snap Pepin straight forward, I shouldn't be able to because that foot is holding them up. Exactly. It's very difficult to snap them that way, okay? So now I'm gonna practice the skill of circling to a space where my opponent doesn't have that base, and then from there I snap him down. So watch how this time I'm gonna circle to a space where my opponent doesn't have base. And now that he has no base here, now I start that side, back, same step footwork, side, back, watch how my head follows through, and I snap this guy down to the mat. Again, the idea here is that my hands are following through, my head is following through on the snap down, okay? Notice how I end with a nape post on the back of his nape, and from here, my thumb is posting on the back of his tricep here. So I practice following through and staying heavy on my opponent. Let's look at this again. Nick, you can come on this side if you want. Good. So from here again, he's on a knee. Again, if I try to snap him straight down, I'm going to snap him straight into his base of support. So I circle where he has no base. 1, 2, 3, and once I circle that way, now I practice snapping this guy down. 1, or I can go either way. So I can go towards the head, or I can go away from the head. There are pros and cons to each, but in either case, I snap him down to the mat. Okay, on 3, 1, 2, 3. And actually starting to snap in the standing position. Okay, so let's understand some of just a basic dilemma in the standing position, rather not basic, but fundamental dilemma in the standing position, where let's understand that the concept of push-pulling when it comes to snapping somebody down, okay? When I'm in position, I use my head and my forearm. So my head and my forearm are my main pushing surfaces here. When I start to push into Pepin has 2 basic options here, okay? He can either A, try to keep this lead leg kind of heavy. If he keeps that lead leg heavy, meaning forward, as I push, that leg becomes more exposed, okay? And it makes it easy for me to start picking up single legs, okay? Obviously, if he wants to push back into me, what starts to happen to this leg? This leg starts to become lighter. Why does it become lighter? Well, he wants to start leaning back into me. Exactly. And now from off this leaning situation, like you should be able to pick up that lead leg. That means I'm leaning my body weight into you. Exactly, just like so. Again, if he starts putting weight back on that lead leg, yeah, he can feel it. I'm gonna start to expose that leg, okay? But as weight starts to come off that lead leg, yeah, now he can hold his ground and he can joust with me in this position. This is where you wanna start thinking about snapping people down, okay? When you can get that lead leg light as they're pushing back into you, all right? So here's what we're gonna do. My forearm is pushing into Pepin, okay? I am not pushing with a strict collar tie, meaning I don't put my collar on my opponent's neck. What are you doing? Come over here. What the hell?
What do you mean?
I'm teaching a technique over here. You look at my ass.
I had a good angle.
All right.
More views.
I had a good angle.
I'm not pushing with a collar tie, okay? I'm pushing with my forearm, okay? Holy smokes, incredible, okay? And I'm pushing with my head. So these are my 2 pushing surfaces, my forearm and my head. So as I go to push Pepin, push back, Pepin. See how I'm pushing into him with my forearm and with my head. What does that mean? That means my hand stays light. So my hand can aggressively come back to the neck and start to snap him, okay? So with my grips, I'm pushing. Look how my hand stays light. Now from here, same thing, guys. I take a step out, step back, head goes down, and I snap this guy down to the mat, just like so. Same exact movement process. So again, you want to make sure you develop that initial joust with your opponent, meaning I'm pushing into him, he's pushing back into me. If you're having a hard time kind of figuring this out, you're like, I don't really know if he's pushing into me. He should be able to pick up his lead leg. Exactly. That means he's driving his weight off that rear leg. Okay? This means he's primed for a snap down. Okay? From here, again, watch how I push with my forearm and with my head. Push with my forearm and with my head. Good. Now, as I feel that push back, I take a step out and back. Head goes down to the mat, and I snap this guy down all the way to the mat. Okay? 1, 2, 3.
Very closer.
The best is when you're moving around multiple different angles, all that stuff.
Okay.
All right, good. Let's bring it in. Now let's look at something that's going to frustrate a lot of your snap downs, okay? And this is a grip that your opponent will often take if you have a strong collar tie. It's a great grip, okay? And that's going to be an elbow grip, okay? From here, Pepin's going to grab my elbow. Yeah, good. When he glues this elbow to his body, yes, that shuts down your snap down power. Right, why? The power of a snap down or the transmission of a snap down is in my elbow. My elbow being able to retract, move down the way, right? Because when my elbow moves, my hand moves. My hand moves, he moves. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? So if Pepin can shut down my elbow by taking my elbow and gluing it into his body, now, like he'll tell you, when I go to snap him down, he can control that power of the snap. Okay? If he doesn't neutralize that elbow and that elbow can move around, now he feels like I can really start to move him around. Okay? But again, when he glues that elbow to his body, I'm not going to be able to move him around. So what do we do when he glues our elbow to his body? From here, what we're going to do, the moment I feel Pepin start to glue this elbow to the body, let's understand that chances are this collar tie is now dead. Okay? You can try to sit here and fight from here, but if this guy has a really good grip, strong grip, this is probably going to be a losing battle. So instead, what we're going to do from here is I'm going to start to transition to a bicep tie with this hand. So from here, I'm going to take my hand down to the bicep tie, okay? The bicep tie negates the power of the grip of his elbow. Why? Because with the bicep tie, I can start to take his elbow out and away from his body, okay? So again, he's trying to suck my elbow to his body while keeping his own elbow close to his body, right? So he grabs my elbow, glues it to his body. Look how close his elbow is to his body. I'm not going to snap him down from here. There's no power in this hand. So when I come down and I grip his tricep, from here I can start to work his elbow down and away from his body. Now that there's distance from his elbow to his body, there's a lot less power in this grip. And now from here I have two options. I can either come back to the head with this hand, side step, back step, snap, or if you decide to, he grabs my elbow, I come back down to the bicep tie, I pull to take it off. I can switch sides entirely and snap him down on the other side. Completely up to you which you prefer. Whether you want to come back to with that hand to the head and snap, or whether you want to switch sides altogether and snap him down on the other side. But the main concept here is that you cannot allow him to dominate the collar tie elbow. Okay? Again, if he dominates that collar tie elbow, this is dead. You're going to be working in vain here. When I grip this bicep tie, some guys are going to be super strong here. Keep that elbow strong. Yeah. And it's going to be hard to pull them off. Don't think about pulling them in just one pull. Think instead, small little pulls. I go 1, 2, 3, and I pull that elbow out and away from his body in 2 or 3 different tugs, okay? Once I do that, I can come back up to his head, or I can switch sides and snap him down to the mat. On 3, 1, 2, 3. How my opponent can present to me on the bicep tie side, okay? From here, with the bicep tie, okay? Let's understand what a bicep tie is. A bicep tie, they call it a bicep tie, but in reality, it's a grip on the tricep, okay? Maybe they call it a bicep tie because you guys will push on the bicep with your forearm to control your opponent's elbow. But in either case, I grab 3 of my fingers, and 3 of my fingers mold to the back of my opponent's tricep just like so. I make like a grip just like so, okay? Now from here, if Pepin stays on my tricep, that doesn't bother me here, okay? I can maneuver, I can work here.
One thing that will frustrate me is him draping his hand up and over my bicep tie, just like you guys were doing. This side, this side. Oh, yeah, there you go, beautiful. From here, like you'll feel the bicep ties start to get shut down. Okay. When I feel this happening, I can't fight from here. I have to start coming back, control the wrist, and now I come back down to the wrist. And now, once again, off that wrist tie, I push, he pushes back. Is that leg light? Is that leg light? Yeah, very nice. And now I snap down to the mat. Okay, so once again, in position, I have my bicep tie. Pepin does a good job of draping over the top of my bicep tie. I come down and away, watch this. He's pushing down, nope, that hand's pushing down, exactly. And that exposes that wrist. What gives that hand power is that hand draping down and through. Exactly. Off of that, I retract and I grip the wrist. Now off that wrist grip, I can start all my different snapping action. And I snap them down to the mat. Okay, so now we're snapping with a head and wrist grip. On three, 1, 2, 3. The benefit of snapping off an underhook is you literally have two hands working on getting your opponent's head down. Okay, I struggled a lot with snapping people down in the beginning. The first snap down I really started to master was this underhook snap. Okay, I'm telling you, it's a good way to start shortcutting your snap down game. Okay, so what we're gonna do from here is we're head to head. I'm gonna go head to head with Pepin. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna set my collar tie. I'm gonna grab a top hand position on his hand. Okay, off that top hand position, I'm gonna curl my hand down and start to shoot an underhook. Now from here, if Pepin keeps his legs close to me, I can drop level and I can start to threaten the legs. So guess what guys do? They start to circle exactly down and away, down and away, down and away. Away, no. This way, that way. Yes, exactly. Because if you come towards me, no. Circle towards me. Yes. You're in trouble. Does that make sense to you? Yep. Come back. So your legs go down and away this way. Gotcha. Yes, that doesn't let me reach them, okay? As my opponent goes down and away, go ahead. Slowly, good. My hand shortens and comes to the back of the deltoid. As my hand shortens and comes to the back of the deltoid, my left hand also comes to the back of his head. And now from here, I perform a nice short snap to get to his head, to a front headlock. Off that front headlock, I drag him down to the mat. My head goes in the hole. I cut the corner. I reach the near side leg. I circle. My leg comes in position first. I reach for the waist. My head pops out, and I'm successfully behind the stuff. Let's look at this one more time. I'm head to head with Pepin. I set a collar tie. Good. Off my collar tie, his hands up. Good. We're trying to grapple each other. I grab top hand position. I curl it down, and I shoot an underhook. If his legs stay close to me, I can attack his legs. So guys, start moving the leg out and away from you. Exactly. I shorten my two hands, so my two hands go short. Long hands, short hands. Long hands, short hands. Off those short hands, I snap his head down into my armpit. I circle, I put his hands on the mat. Watch how it's right off of this position. See my underhook? I use that to get my head behind his armpit. My head digs in the hole, I reach the leg. My knee goes behind his leg, I reach for his waist, and I circle behind him. Okay? On 3, 1, 2, 3. And I still snap him down. The good news is, yes, there are ways of snapping this guy down. You have to modify a couple of things, however. Okay? If Pepin grabs a collar tie first, I'm going to grab an over tie on him, okay? And we're going to go for our over tie snap, okay? Now, a little minutia on the over tie. On this over tie, my hand can grip a variety of different surfaces, but one of the best ones is to take my middle finger and my ring finger and put my middle finger and my ring finger right on the inside crevice of his ear. That gives me an excellent grip to hold on to the far side of this guy's head. From here, there's a variety of different things that can happen on this side, okay? He can be gripping me, good. I could be gripping him. I could be thumb posting. He might be thumb posting me. There's a variety of different things that can happen on this side. Don't worry so much about what happens on this side. For now, just go palm to palm with your opponent, just like so, okay? To keep it neutral on this side. From here, first thing I want to do is I want to start to attack the structure of Pepin's collar tie by starting to bring his head to his bicep. If I sit here and I just try to get his head to his bicep from here, strong guy won't let you do it. I'm going to have to use my body weight and my footwork to do that. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to circle away, and I bring, hold on tighter. Good, I bring his head to his bicep. Once I bring his head to his bicep, notice how that also squared him up. Did you guys see that? That's perfect snap down territory. Now watch how from here I'm square too because I circled. Now watch how I take my eyes and I literally point my eyes between my legs. What's that doing? it's hiding my head and my chin from him. And it snaps him down to the mat. If you guys watch Japanese wrestler Ono, he does it just like this. He literally looks between his legs and he snapped down everybody. Olympic champions, world champions, everybody with this technique. From here, as he goes down, notice how the back of my hand stays on the side of his head. I take my hand and I tricep post. My chest gets heavy on Pepin's back. From here, I circle, my knuckles go to the back of his tricep. So when he tries to cut that tricep back into me, he can't. Exactly, it's very difficult. I circle all the way to the far side and I cover the far hip. So let's look at this one more time. Over tie snap from here. Pepin gets a collar tie, I get an over tie. Good. Hand to hand. Good. Now off that hand to hand, first things first, I want to get his head to that bicep. A strong guy won't just let you do that. You have to work for it. So from here, I'm going to use my footwork and my body weight to do that. Watch how I go square, and I circle his head to his bicep. Now from here, my eyes do the work. My eyes go down in between my legs, and I snap him down to the mat. Off that snap, my back of my hand goes to the side of his head. Hand stays heavy on the tricep. My chest goes to his back. From here, I press down. My hand transfers to my tricep pose. Circle all the way around, cover the forehead, and now from here, ready to attack on 3, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes you're gonna go to snap somebody down, and you're struggling. You're struggling when you're snapped down. Like, coach, like, I know what you're telling me. You told me to footwork. You told me to look the right way. You told me to square them up. All these different things. I'm just struggling to get people down to the mat, and I'm struggling to get people under my armpit. And I get it, 100%. I understand what you're saying. Listen, we're in the standing position. This guy knows I want to put his hands and his head down on the mat. He knows that, so he's fighting against that with everything he's got. He knows that even if I don't put his head and his hand down on the mat, but his head comes under my armpit, to a jiu-jitsu guy, that's like when the freaking Dracula sees sunlight, right? It's like immediately like, no, like I'm not gonna let that happen. The moment they feel their head even getting close to there, they start to repel away and they're like out of there, okay? So it can be really tough. This last snap down I'm gonna teach you is one that is much easier to get than all the ones I've taught you because it's so surreptitious, okay? They don't expect it to come for 2 reasons. Number one, you don't have to get their hands and their head all the way down to the mat. So it's not nearly as aggressive of a snap down, okay? And in that sense, it lulls them to sleep. And finally, number 2, you don't even have to get their head under your armpit, okay? Because remember, anybody that has any grappling experience knows that having my head under his armpit is bad, is very bad. And the moment you start to get their head anywhere near there, the moment they feel their head start to get pushed that way, alarms start going off. And they use everything they got to get out of there, okay? This last snap down, I call it a football snap, okay? So I hold his head.
Well, you're taking a hand off.
The same way I take a hand off. Not how the wide receiver catches.
Yep. There you go.
You take a hand off in football, right? So you take a hand off in football and you go, okay? That's why we call this a football snap, okay? So from here, all you need to accomplish a football snap is number 1, some form of collar tie on your opponent, okay? Whether that's directly on his head or my preferred method is off the head so then I can come back to the head. And 2, some sort of inside position with your offhand. That's all you need. All you need. So I can football snap from top hand position. I can football snap from a thumb post. I can football snap from a bicep tie. Whatever the case is, I can football snap from any of these. From here, what I do is Pepin, is I either go head to head or head to shoulder. Both are great. And now all that needs to happen here, sometimes you don't even have to worry about, squaring them up. Don't have to worry about breaking their stance, none of that stuff. Because it's such a low requirement snap, again, your setup is a lower requirement setup. There's not much that you need to do. All you need to make sure you're doing is have a hand in the collar and have a hand inside position. From here, all I'm doing is I literally use my collar tie to pull his ear to my chin. If his ear touches my chin, I'm there. I'm ready to go. And as I'm doing that, my right hand comes to his chin. I pull, and I pull his head to the center of my body, here. Again, people don't expect this. Their whole life, they've been snapped down in ways where their head's always under people's armpits, or their head's aggressively going down to the mat. So when you perform a snap like this one, where the head simply goes straight to your sternum, they're like, holy smokes, like I can't believe he just got my head into a snap down, okay? And you can see the movement. Check out the difference in movement between his head to my armpit. That's quite a ways to go. Versus how little movement that is. See the difference in movement? Versus the little movement of a football snap. Once you have your football snap, all you need to do is hold onto the chin, hold onto the back of the head, reinforce your hand with your own chin, like this. Now, to bring them down to the mat, I'm gonna circle. 1, 2, 3, knees down to the mat. If his hand comes off, if his hands come on the mat, hands on the mat, push. Good. I pound, head right back down to the mat. And I pull his head right back down to the mat. 2 hands on his head. I'm telling you guys, it's freaking strong. Post on the tricep. Get your head behind him. Circle, circle, circle. Knee block, waist. Head pops out. And now I'm behind him, ready to attack. One more time. From here, top hand position. Look, my hand's on top hand position. Snap, he's in. Bicep tie. Snap, he's in. Thumb post. Snap, he's in. That's all you need. And now off this snap, I circle. And I put his head down to the mat. If his head comes off the mat, I snap his head right back down to the mat. I post, my head goes in the hole, I circle, grab the leg, I knee block. Off that knee block, I grab the far waist. Head pops out and I get to the far hip. On 3, 1, 2, 3.